That's on, everybody. Here we go. A model who's a member of the High IQ Society, Mensa, says that she wants any prospective partner, any date, to face an IQ test on their very first meeting.
Candice Kloss says she doesn't want to waste her time with idiots. If the dates fail the test, they are out of the picture.
Well, look, according to Mensa, the majority of people have an IQ of about 100, with only a third of people having an IQ of more than 115.
To be a member of Mensa, you must have an IQ of 130. Candice's IQ is 136. She'll only go out with guys who score 120 or above.
Well, look, Candice joins us now from New York Live, and here in the studio we're joined by entrepreneur and former Apprentice contestant Kayode Damali, who says that he would get up and walk away if he was asked to do an IQ test on a date, and I think I would too. So, Candice, we'll start with you, because actually it's about 2:45 in the morning there in New York, so thanks very much for staying up for us.
You look like you're wearing a wedding dress, by the way, Candice.
Yes, I was thinking that as well, but we'll come to that. Look, how do you impose this test on a guy? Because obviously if you email him the questions, the IQ questions, he's just going to Google the answers, isn't he? So do you actually do it in front of him at the, I don't know, at the restaurant table? What happens?
Yeah. So far, only 2 people actually did, like, the long test, but I was surprised they even did it. I'm like, oh, cool, thanks. Like, that's awesome.
But how do you do it? Do you sit opposite them, you know, with a clipboard? I mean, how do you give them the questions?
So one test is called, like, the Stanford Bidet test or something. Don't quote me. But it's pretty long. I mean, it takes like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
So hang on, Candice, can we just establish? So somebody gets in touch and says, I'd love to go out on a date with you. You look like my sort of woman. And you say, OK, let's go to a restaurant. This is my favourite one. He turns up. And have you got the iPad ready there for him to do the test? So he sits there for 2 hours while he does the test. Or do you make it a requirement before he even turns up?
I mean, I tried to make it seem like fun because, like, one of my guy friends has his dates take the personality test, which is kind of fun, like are you introvert, extrovert? So I tried to pass it off like that, like, oh, taking tests is fun. Don't you want to take this?
And then if he fails it, so then if his IQ is too low, that result comes through and you say, I'm terribly sorry, the date's off. Has that happened? You say 2 people have already done it. Did they pass?
Yeah, they passed. It hasn't happened yet, but I feel like you can kind of tell when you first meet someone if they might not pass.
OK, well, what is...
So, yeah, no one's failed yet.
What is a pass mark, then? What did they score?
I only said 110 or above. I think that sounds kind of fair, like...
Well, OK, listen, but just before we come to the opposing argument to this, I've got an IQ question for you. Let's just see how you manage on live television across the Atlantic there. Here we go.
Oh, dear.
Jane goes to visit Jill at her apartment. Jill is Jane's only husband's mother-in-law's only husband's only daughter's only daughter.
OK, I feel like we need a pen and pencil for this one, Richard,
What relation is Jill to Jane? She's Jane's... Only husband's mother-in-law's only husband's only daughter's only daughter. What do you think?
I'm not sure I want to go on a date with you, Rich, if you're going to...
I'm not going to... This is her blooming scheme. Oh, well, I'll tell you, it's her daughter. She's her daughter. She's going to visit her mum. But how you work that out, I do not know.
OK. Well, and to be fair, it looked like Candice was working it out and we didn't give her enough time. I mean, that, you know... Look, let's talk to Kayode Damali about this. Have you ever had your IQ tested?
Funny enough, I actually did one last night at 1 a.m, half asleep, with cold in my eye, just to see what I'd get. And I actually did the Mensa one, and I got them all right.
So
bear in mind, I'm half asleep.
What's your score?
So it was 100%. It wasn't the actual main one, because you have to order it in, but it's still 100%. So my issue with the IQ test is that, how accurate is it, and is it a true measure of intelligence? So for me personally, I wouldn't want necessarily someone to take an IQ test. I'd rather test their emotional intelligence. Because in a relationship, I think that's a lot more important. I mean, would you agree?
Do you know what? I totally agree. But I think what Candice has hit upon here is that what she means is it's kind of fun. It's sort of a fun thing to ask somebody. And actually, it's a personality test, isn't it? Are you the sort of person who wants to have a bit of fun with Candice?
Yeah.
I think that, and are you, Kayode?
I mean, me and Candice, we can have fun. I know we chatted in the DMs last night or whatever, but I feel that if you are necessarily trying to narrow down your dating pool to the top 2% of the population, I think it's very, very restricted. I mean, even from that 2%, half of them might be women. And even basing it from that, some of them might be... I mean, I looked at it last night, one of them is, I think, it's 2 years old, some of them are 100 years old, so it's very, very weird. I mean, unless you want to be dating a 100-years-old person, Candice, it's up to you. But
Yeah,
I think
Candice, what are the other requirements? Because you've said you want the IQ to be over 110, but of course that does rule out a lot of potential partners.
Like everyone.
What are your other requirements?
I don't know. I'm actually seeing someone now. We're not like in an exclusive relationship, but I'm not ready for like a serious relationship. Also, this whole test giving thing made me realize. So for now, just like having some fun.
All right. Well,
We have to establish, what's the IQ of the person you're seeing?
So I actually don't know because we only did one of the like little online tests, not the long one. But he's pretty smart. He like does math for work.
Right.
So
well, look, we threw a curveball at you, and I've got one for Kayode because you've just rashly said that you've got 100% last night at 1 in the morning.
I did.
So you ought to get this one. I think this is a little bit easier actually. Let's see. Okay, which of the words that I'm going to say is least like the others? And the difference has nothing to do with vowels or consonants or syllables, OK? And the words are more, pairs, as in two things, pairs, etchers and zipper. More, pairs, etchers and zipper.
What and zipper?
Which is the odd one out, basically? Which are the odd ones out? More, pairs, etchers, zipper.
Like, each IQ test so abstract, aren't they?
Like, you told me you got 100%.
I don't even know what etchers are. Like, I don't even know what etchers are. So
etchers are what you draw with.
So that's the thing. So it's like there's a lot of cultural differences within these IQ tests. So certain parts of the world might not even know what etchers are. So for me to answer your question, I hope I get this right. It'll be really embarrassing,
Go on,
right?
have a guess.
I'm going to say etchers.
No, it's zipper. Because the others can be anagrammed into the names of cities. So, like, More is Rome, Pairs is Paris, and Etchers is Chester. But zipper isn't anything.
Well, in my defence, if I had it written down in front of me, I could have seen it. Yeah, just hearing it.
Fair,
I didn't know how to even spell half them words. So, like...
Well, then we're not going for lunch. Sorry. You failed the test.
I'll go with Susanna instead.
You go with Susanna.
Yeah.
She has much lower standards than me.
Kayode, thank you for being such a good
Pleasure.
sport.
Yeah.
Candice, thank you. And
you can get to bed now, Candice. It's 3 in the morning.
good luck.
Have a great morning.
OK, have a good morning. Right.